Hi everybody, I'm Todd Banner and welcome to my channel. Well, today is Thursday, July 13th, 2023, and if you paid attention to the weather news, you know that yesterday we had a bunch of tornadoes touch down in the Chicago area. So I was doing some work here in my office and I knew there was a tornado watch. I'd noticed that on one of my weather apps a few hours prior to all of a sudden the sirens going off, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. Then I heard the sirens. Then I went out and to our balcony and took a look. And we don't have a really good view of the areas to the west and south, but I could tell things were definitely happening kind of towards the south. So the sirens, actually, they canceled the sirens after a few minutes, so I decided to go out and see what I could see. And I actually walked over to a little bit west of where the CTA Blue Line terminal is in Forest Park. And you could see the wall cloud passing into Chicago. So there are all kinds of videos on YouTube of these tornadoes touching down. One touched down near O'Hare, one touched down in Hodgkins, Illinois, which is probably the one that went by us to the south. The other one touched down in what's called Campton Hills, which is way out west. It's actually barely a suburb, but there's still a lot of farm fields out there. So that was kind of the exciting day. Luckily, nobody, sounds like nobody was injured. So people, knew to take cover. But today, I just wanted just a quick little video. When we were getting ready to move, I found something. I found an artifact. I don't even know how I got this, but what I found was a roll of Kodachrome II. And the box, the glue on the box is just like gone. So the box is not holding together anymore. But, I mean, this is just amazing to me. Of course, I do need my glasses to read this. Processed before September of 1968. And it's unexposed. And since it can't be processed because there's no Kodachrome processing anymore, it's going to probably remain that way. It's pretty cool though. When film came in metal canisters, that's pretty neat. Also came with, and keep in mind, a slide film. Transparency film had very, very limited exposure range. There's practically no dynamic range. 5 stops if you were lucky. So Kodak included this handy little exposure guide for you. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting. I thought I'd just read this, which I cannot do without my glasses. It's Kodachrome II film for automatic cameras or exposure meters. Think about this. This is mid-1960s when this was manufactured, and there were already automatic cameras with automatic exposure. Set the film speed dial to your camera exposure meter to ASA 25. ASA was the precursor to ISO. And essentially ISO 25, they're equivalent. So setting cameras without an exposure meter. And so it gives you this little guide here for bright or hazy sun, distinct shadows. Set your camera to 1/250th of a second at f5.6. And it says there's a little asterisk, so f8 at 2/50th of a second for brilliant scenes such as those containing much sand or snow. f4 at 1/25th of a second for backlighted close-up subjects. For cloudy, bright cloudy, no shadows, 1/125th of a second at f4. For heavy overcast, 1/60th at f4. And open shade, 1/60th at f4. You have to realize that most people did not have cameras with very fast lenses, which is probably why they have f4 here as the widest aperture to use. But then it goes on to have guide for using flash. So use blue flash bulbs or flash cubes. Flash cubes, I don't know that there were any 35mm cameras that had flash cubes, but they actually made Kodachrome slide film for the Instamatics, and those took little flash cubes. It was this little cube, had 4 flashes, and when you shot, it rotated. So you could do 4 shots with them, and then you threw them away. And you know, when I was a kid, you go to a tourist area, people would pop those things off, and of course, they were all over the ground. However, electronic flash did exist in the 1960s, so it had used the table below as a starting point in determining correct guide number for your equipment. Divide the proper guide number by the flash to subject distance in feet to determine the F number for average subjects. So I just thought, this is just really interesting. I have no idea how I got this. My theory is that this belonged to my older brother, who was getting into photography by about that time, so could have belonged to him. Don't think my parents had a 35mm camera in 1968. That's it for today. I'll have another video up shortly. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. If this was interesting to you, please hit that like button. That's a big help to me. If you're a subscriber, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm Todd Banner. I will see you next time.